Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm so happy to see you all again. Happy to be here. It's been a while from my side, I have to admit, but um, GatherVerse events are always a reason to be back. And what better panel than what we have here today to discuss the future of virtual existence? Will be hard to conquer or to surpass what the previous panel did because they were really inspiring. But I'm sure that with all your amazing minds to it, we'll get to that. Um, Maybe just introduce yourselves shortly, like 30 seconds, what you're working on, where you're connecting from this world, and then we can dive into it right away. Um, I would say let's start by women first. As I see Chloe next to me on the screen, please, Chloe, introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Chloe. Right now I'm tuning in from Singapore, so it's like midnight for me, but I'm super excited to share with every single one of you and learn from every single one of you as well. So people also know me as the Arigato investor who coach about personal finance, about investing, and I can see there's a lot of correlation and a lot of interplay between how tech, how GatherVerse, as well as how AI and everything is evolving. So I'm excited to share and learn from every single one of you.
Brilliant. Welcome. Nadja, I hope I pronounced it well.
I have a bit of trouble hearing you guys. Are you able to hear me? Okay, fantastic. So hopefully I'll be able to follow the discussion. I'm going to listen very closely. Very happy to be here. My name is Natya Besta. I'm the co-founder of Adlunum, which is a Web3 investment ecosystem that blends social fi elements. So that's the next evolution of social media, of course, with blockchain and with Web3 elements. I think that was 30 seconds or less. So I'm going to hand it over to someone else.
Amazing. The first person who says that women can't handle time, you proved them wrong right away. Uh, Ruslan, welcome.
Hello, everyone. Very, very nice to meet you. I'm Ruslan. I'm from Ukraine, but right now I'm in Poland, Warsaw. I'm subject matter expert. I work in field of emergent technology more than 15 years, and I'm really fascinated. This is a great time to be alive because we will live not only in one virtual, or just not one in one reality. So I hope we will augment this world and make it much more better. Thank you, and I'm really glad to be here today with you in this discussion.
Thank you so much and welcome. Terry, hi. Great to see you again.
Yes, hi. Thank you guys for having me again at GatherVerse. It's always a pleasure to be here. My name is Terry Proto. I'm CEO for Virtual Reality Marketing. We are a very large community and showcase of XR professionals. We've got a following of 90,000 members on LinkedIn, and we organize immersive events to connect XR creators with their audiences and clients. Right now, we're super excited. We're working on an event on the merging of XR and AI with tons of applications. So, that's us in 30 seconds.
Sounds fascinating. Welcome. And last but definitely not least, Stacy Whittle. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to be back. I am a producer, director, actor, co-founder of Block of Love and Heart Theater, and technical advisor to Corazon Latino. For the last 2 years, I've been traveling around the U.S. filming stories about the incredible people who work at the Forest Service, from Alaska Natives to African American, Latino, Asian American, Pacific Islanders. I've been talking to so many people, which has given me deep insight into what we're going to be talking about today. And it has also caused me to be much more introspective. So as Jens was talking about introspection, I think that's kind of my theme for today. Thanks.
Love it. I'm really looking forward to this discussion. So let's get started. I would like to start with what each of you believe will most significantly, can't even speak anymore. I'm sorry. It's becoming WAF days. What emerging technologies do you believe will most significantly impact virtual existence in the next decade? Next decade, it's already here. So, but who knows? We're come across a new emerging tech. So maybe Ruslan, let us know what your thoughts are on this.
Thank you. This wonderful question. It's really intriguing because right now we are in the frontier of when technology is finally finding these bridges into our reality and how we can augment ourselves to digital worlds. So right now, in my perspective, I see in the AR glasses, and probably I hope to see AR lenses which can get us into a world of mixed reality in front of us, is the most convenient way how people can communicate with virtual worlds and how they can, let's say, like have user cases with it, how we can live inside of it, how we can work inside of it, so how we can bring our ordinary life into this. I definitely see that this virtual world will overlay on our real world. And we have these use cases more and more. And even now we can see how we can, for example, control our smart houses, control our in sort of environment, have gaming, can invite guests to our virtual and real worlds and have this communication happening. So in my perspective, let's say like the lighter and more convenient gadgets we will have, they will much more influence our, let's say like this gap, this bridge, how we can get into this world. So in my perspective, it's the first which we will see, it's AR glasses. And this will help us, let's say, like to participate in those experiences. Because right now we can see how spatial computing is evolving, how we can use like something heavy computing unit and just translate this reality into the glasses. So they won't have to be very, very, let's say, like heavy, and they will be very casual for the home usage, for the usage on the street, and so on. So the main idea here is really this, even the hardware evolution, which gave us ability to get into these virtual worlds. And right now we can see a really great boost through the technology like MetaQuest 3, MetaQuest 3S, which have give us a glance of this mixed reality and how we can operate inside of both worlds, our real one and the virtual one. So yeah, I think that should be the main boost for at least 1 decade or so.
Amazing. Terry, from a marketing point of view, what are your thoughts on this?
Oh my God, so many. So absolutely agree with Ruslan. I think the recently Meta released just a preview of the Meta Orion glasses, and we've been talking about spatial computing and how it's going to transform and how it's going to replace our phones and everything. And we've had the big headsets. And when, what was so fantastic for everyone 2-3 weeks ago when that was showed was that it's the first time you see it well executed in a pair of glasses. And to answer your question, it's going to change everything. Like, how is it going to be integrated? There was this interesting movie, talking of marketing. It was a dystopian future, but it was also very interesting. It was a short movie by Keiichi Matsuda, Hyper Reality. Everyone in the industry has seen it, but for those who haven't, it's like this day of this woman, and she's wearing like layers and layers of digital information, and it's completely overwhelming. And so in terms of marketing, one of the questions is, how can we use this to our benefit? How can we make it a tool that's helping people? And how do we not make it? If you remember the beginning of the internet, when pop-ups started to appear, at some point you had like the pop-up and the pop-up blockers, and you would go to a website and it would open like 15 windows. But now it's in your face. Yeah. So the applications are fantastic, and you can imagine anything and everything. But at the same time, we are entering a space where very quickly we will need to have very deep reflection on what's wanted and what's not wanted.
Totally, totally. I love when I hear you say that we need to find solutions in terms of where technology is at service of humankind and not just developing technology for the sake of developing whatever there's coming to mind. Um, but indeed, that brings me also to how this virtual existence can evolve to become more integrated in our everyday life. And then I would definitely would like to hear as well from Stacy, from your experience the past year, because what I notice, we within our industry, we know not just what's going on, but also the trends and so forth and so on. But then you meet people in daily life, let's say the general public, and often it's like we're talking Chinese to them about what are you talking about? Virtual what? And a what? So, in what sense do you see that this virtual existence, this evolution will become more integrated in everyday life, but also from the perspective of the people you met who don't even know about almost the existence of these technologies?
So before we turn to that, I just wanted to really quickly say like how I'm seeing it, and this is through the eyes of my older son who's going to medical school next year. Yay. He's working for an ophthalmic surgeon right now, and how they're using VR in a real way, and this technology in a real way, and I want to get this right, is they're doing a visual field test to map out patients' peripheral vision, especially for patients that don't speak English. So they've been able to replace those massive machines that are very costly and not very precise, especially, and not precise if you don't speak English and you have an English speaking doctor, to this smaller device that is really, delivering better results. That is amazing. We're seeing that already. A doctor is using that with great result. I would say that the general public, and I talk to everybody, and my kids always get after me about it, but I don't care. And I would say that 95% or more of people I speak to don't necessarily understand these terms and could be using these technologies, but don't really know because we tend to describe it in these kind of abstract ways. So I think we just need to be better at educating people about what these technologies are and show use cases that people are already doing in their everyday lives, right? I think that with the technology getting better and the glasses getting smaller, especially from a woman's perspective, I wear makeup, I like to look good. I don't like to put on anything that's gonna, wreck my, eyeliner or make my neck hurt. I think once the actual hardware is better, everything will significantly change. Like that. But for now, like nobody wants to wear it. That's the truth. It just is annoying. So once we get past that and we have something that's just so seamless like this, the world will change in an instant. So I think it's education. And then once the hardware gets better, we'll see a much more significant change in how these technologies will be integrated into our everyday life.
Totally. Nadja, from your perspective, what's your take on it?
So I think it's quite interesting because depending on what transformation you're talking about, like we are already in a massive transformation. I started working remotely in 2012. I started homeschooling my son in 2012. I started working in digital marketing, which at that time, you had to call it digital marketing, and even your clients didn't understand what it was and why they needed it. And it wasn't until the pandemic that my social circle caught up with me. And not only my social circle, but the world. And so arguably for me, sitting here amongst other tech leaders and thought leaders in the space, it's an echo chamber, right? Of like this transformation that we are going through because we are early adopters, we are pioneers. So I think I always try to bring it down to if I speak to a cab driver, if I travel a lot, and if I go to a new city and I speak to the cab driver there about a technology, I mean, which they ask what you do, you say you work in tech, and then of course the next question is what. For me in Web3, it's been very interesting that people have not had any idea what I was talking about. You know, you have to mention Bitcoin and then they understand. AI, on the other hand, people instantly get. Even there were times when I personally introduced the concept of AI to someone, and then they instantly got it. And I think what my takeaway is from that is it's not until someone absolutely can directly apply the benefits right now that it's going to become relevant to them. I mean, if you go to a mall, you're not going, you might window shop and you might browse, but if you're at the mall to buy something, you're going to have tunnel vision and you're not going to see anything else. And so I think that there are multiple shifts taking place. For some people, they already live in the world of tomorrow. And then for others, it's going to take, decades to catch up. So depending on who you speak to, I think those worlds are kind of merging together at the moment. And that really, for me, is always where the question is when these worlds collide, what are the conversations that we are having about them? So I think that's why, an event like GatherVerse is so important, because we're bringing people from different modalities to all have these conversations and try and kind of workshop things out, which again, if you're only in one industry, then you fall prey to the echo chamber of, well, I am right and you are right and we both know we're right and the world is wrong. So I think it's very important for us to have these conversations, because we don't actually know what tomorrow is going to look like.
Exactly. I couldn't say it any better. Chloe, what do you anticipate that the societal shifts as virtual existence, what becomes more prevalent to your ID?
I think firstly, we just really get used to meeting virtually, like way more than last time, right? I still remember like back then when I was conducting my trainings, my programs, a lot of students always ask for like offline classes, right? They want to be in front of you, they want to be there. But right now, if you give them an option, many people actually opt for like Zoom training, right? Because they can be at the comfort of their home. And eventually, if technology continues to evolve, just like what all those speakers are talking about, the VR glasses and everything, if it evolve well, then it can really transform the entire experience of how we can learn, how we can like entertain and even communicate with each other virtually. So I think right now, one of the company, Zoom, I think they are really doing a great job in transforming how like we interact in work, how we interact in social settings. So I think it's going to be very interesting how technology will continue to evolve this space, and we get more used to it. And in fact, we fall in love with it. And right now, we are getting used to it.
Yeah.
I think eventually we'll fall in love with the immersive experience as well.
Totally. Waslan, I imagine that from your experience as well, not just with what everything is going on in Ukraine and even in Poland, it's not always easy. But do you experience some societal shifts already, or we just lost him 2 seconds. I assume he will be back in a moment. Because the societal shifts are not just on communication, but also the workforce, government, and so forth and so on. So, hi, you're back. As I said, so the societal shifts will not only take place in terms of communication, but also in terms of workforce, governments, and so forth and so on. What is your take on this, and from your experience, what you can remark in terms of societal shifts?
Thank you again for a wonderful question. Really, we see how technologies augment and users should be grown up for them. Because if users are not grown up for specifically technology, nowadays where virtual reality is already a thing and society is ready for it. Society know what is it. It's not like a gimmick technology. Even let's say like big businesses right now what exactly is given to them. They see how to invest inside of education. They see how they can use this for virtual production. They see how virtual reality can save costs and make people more efficient. So society is really right now on this glance when we are becoming casual to virtual worlds. We now understand how we create heritage inside of this. We understand how we can preserve art. We understand that right now we can freely communicate here, and I hope in a few years it will be fully immersed virtual environment where everyone will be sitting and just feeling each other, like this body tone, gestures, everything else will be very, very familiar for us. So I right now can say that we have really much more adoption of virtual reality. There was like a small gap when we seen everyone, which there was not, say, like really how Stacy said, convenient virtual reality headsets. It was like clunky technology which you should to have all over your face, which give you marks on your face and so on. Yet right now, it's absolutely our thing. For example, like with Meta glasses, which we showed, it's absolutely our edge of technology, of computer technology, which we may use. And you see, just in a few years, the society will be more than ready for usage virtual reality. I hope we will have this virtual reality calls. We will have more this virtual reality cooperation. And I'm totally sure that even all our education will transform to virtual reality. For example, right now we business see huge benefits in efficiency of putting person into virtual world and training it there. But further, if with such devices like with cost like $300 or $500, it's fully accessible for business to transfer. It's like even some parts of operation into virtual environments rooms. So into my experience, 5 years ago, that was a huge gap. When we see this like first HTC Vive, good but chunky glasses, and right now with such technology which you can bring with yourself on a plane and watch TV there. And let's say like you bring very good point that not everyone will allow touch its face, and for average brand. For example, you can say, hey, HTC, you will easily connect to my face and I will feel comfortable myself. But for example, like with Apple glasses, people are more useful to touch it and they allow technology and brand to touch their face. And face is very delicate place for everyone. So the operation with the human and human interaction, it comes in many, many different ways. So right now, when we are getting familiar, and I'm really happy that we are all, we will see how this trend will go only upwards. And I hope the society will bring it much more than even right now. So we will see the peak of usage it in just a couple years. So again, thank you for this wonderful question.
Yeah, you're welcome. I think if we speak about virtual existence, we should keep in mind two critical elements, and that is accessibility. Like you mentioned, Ruslan, indeed, for most in Europe and US, the price of a headset is around $300, $350, euros, whatever you want. But there are still regions in the world where not only this is not the case, it also takes time before it arrives. For instance, many regions in Africa, the price of a headset is far beyond a monthly income. Even in Turkey, it's not, you have to wait for months in order to get it. And even then, the second critical element is access to Wi-Fi or internet whatsoever. And for that, you also need power, electricity. So if we take that into consideration, these two elements, I think we're all persuaded about the advantages and the possibilities of virtual existence, the technology going from AI to XR and so forth. But without these two critical elements present, how will this influence global, really worldwide education systems and learning methodologies? Because this has a serious impact, of course, where we need to be aware that we're not recreating society at two speeds, those who have access to it and those who don't. Just like back in the days, you were able to read and write and you were part of society, or you weren't able to and you fell off the sheets, let's say. So in that sense, if we take it to the virtual existence influencing global education systems and learning methodologies, Terry, what is your take on it, especially from all the experience you already have and the big community you have? So I guess
Yeah,
you're
so lots of things to say. Actually, it's very interesting what you said. Long story, and I will try not to digress too much, but I was stranded in Fiji during COVID. And it was really interesting because I was the VR guy, everything, that we're all talking about. So just trying to explain to people in 2020, 2021, what is VR, what is a headset. I had like my one Quest on the island.
Yeah.
And I was talking to this guy and he was super interested in the technology. And he was saying all those things you were saying, like, how do you get the headset? How do you get fast enough Wi-Fi? Blah, 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 blah. So since that firsthand, and I'll tell you one thing, which we've been talking a lot with our clients, and it's when XR restarted around 2016, 17, it kind of all spawned from the new Oculus headset, the first one, the DK1, the DK2, and it was very headset centric.
Mm-hmm.
And what I really like about the evolution of the world now is that it's becoming much more 3D centric, as in all of those evolutions about XR, AR, VR. If you really strip down, the common denominator of everything is that we're going from a 2D world to a 3D world.
Mm-hmm.
And like the internet, you can enjoy it with a variety of devices. And that's super important, because before it was, hey, you need a headset to have this experience. And now it's more of, hey, you've got those 3D experiences. And yes, you can experience them with headsets, but you can use that on your computer and on your phone and on all of those various devices. And kind of like a website, by the way, you can, see a website on your phone, iPhone, tablet, big screen. And it's up to the user to choose. And I think that's part of the answer. It's not a perfect answer, but kind of like as we're transitioning, knowing that the same, like video games, the 3D content of video games you can access on your PlayStation 5 on the big screen TV, but you can also access on a mobile. And that's really changing the conversation, because all of a sudden it's like, okay, it's about 3D immersive content, and it's about bring your own device, and you can access the party, and maybe you're not going to have the full experience, maybe you're not going to have the luxury experience, but at least you can be part of the conversation.
Yeah, totally. Nadja, especially from your Web3 background, I think what Terry says totally aligns with Web3 possibilities. How do you see this evolving?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because kind of building on what I started talking about earlier, if you look at the trends that were, outliers 10 years ago, and you look at the trends that are outliers today, it's clear that whenever something is really early, you are going to continue doubting yourself as to whether this reality is genuinely, working out or happening or whatnot. But I do just want to address, I do feel that there is already, when you were mentioning earlier about some people being able to read and write and others don't, I do feel like we already have that reality. So it's not that it's a fear that it could exist or could come into existence. I think if you compare, the average tech CEO in Silicon Valley to the average young person starting their life in Africa, I think there's a big enough gap there that we understand that there's already like a couple of parallel realities. But I think for me, what is the most interesting, I imagine if we were all gathered here today, but we were in a virtual world where it felt like, I don't know, we were in a forest, and maybe perhaps everyone in the audience were able to fine tune and tweak it's like the background that you have behind you. But let's say instead of your virtual Zoom background, you have the environment through which you walk, where you meet other people, is custom to you. Now, imagine how that would feel for us as normal users. Because as I said earlier, it's one thing to have great conversations about technology with other people in tech. I mean, I get paid to do it. Do it for free. I do it in my sleep. Like, I love doing it. It's my passion. But I understand that if I speak to the average person, nothing that excites me about it excites them. They just want, something to be part of their life in a way that enhances their life. Now, if I think about the effect of the pandemic on society and the societal shift that brought about, now you have people who have never worked from home in their life. I mean, to me, that's inconceivable, but to them, it was a reality. So for the first time in their life, they experience what does it feel like to actually work, but be in the comfort of your own home. Kids, for the first time in their life, they realize what it means to learn other than at school. So I mean, if I compare this to the life that I've had and my family has had, for us the pandemic sucked because we couldn't go for walks, but other than that, like, nothing in our lives changed, right? And so similarly, I can imagine that if we come to a future, because we don't know what's actually coming. I mean, AI is a very interesting technology to kind of track, because on the one hand, you talk about the AI overlords, and on the other hand, you realize that there's not much between the ears right now. So, you're equally scared of these overlords at the same time as going, man, I really wish you were smarter. So we don't actually know what's going to happen, but we do know there's real threats like deep fakes that are, made by AI. We know that when in the election, for example, that's happening right now in the US, I mean, in the previous election, we had misinformation. This time we literally have fake content that can be made by video, by audio. So it's really crazy to see that there's a real threat, but then there's not a real need yet for the average person to kind of say, okay, I'm going to make technology a part of my life now in a way that, we here on this panel have made it a part of our lives. So I think the thing that excites me the most is, as technology becomes smarter and does, let's say, our dirty work for us, like AI does our low-grade thinking for us, and, blockchain secures our assets and whatnot, then the technology that we are creating is really bringing us back to our bodies. Because if you look at haptic technology, where the kinesthetic movement comes into the digital experience, and if you look at brain computer interface, where, I mean, my brain is now my computer, like those kind of things, that's perhaps further out. But I can absolutely imagine that there's a future where all of us come together for this very same discussion. But here we are, I'm in a jungle, someone's in the Mexican desert, it's like, and I think that's the key for me, that as much as we don't know what tomorrow holds for technology, the question is, what do humans want? And I think what humans want to stay at home in their pajamas while at the same time connecting physically and emotionally and socially with other people and make it feel like it's real. So let's see how that's going to play out.
Amazing. Chloe, in what ways do you think that virtual existence will transform the future of work, professional environments, the workforce as such? Because there's a lot that will change, of course. Being able to work from any place in the world, it will have impact on social security schemes, on taxation, on even pay, salaries as such. What do you see as a possible transformation going forward?
I think I very much agree with what Naja has to say. Like, basically, it really depends on what human beings want, right? And I think, like what she said, a lot of us would love to have the flexibility, the freedom of able to work from home. And I think with the beauty of virtual existence right now is we can literally build a team from any part of the world, right? As long as that part has internet connection and able to communicate, like actually right now, language is not an issue because you can literally use AI to do all the translating for you. So I think of course there will be challenges like what you mentioned about taxation, about the pay, but at the same time I also see it as a form of opportunity to bridge the income gap, right? Like last time people who are very remote, like South Africa, they can only have what they have around them. But with right now virtual assistants available, technological advancement, they are able to really connect with different parts of the world and get more skill set level up, and at the same time get more job opportunities that it's way more than what they used to have. So I think when it comes to new tech coming out, there's always downfall, but if we are optimistic about it and we focus on what kind of benefits can it actually bring, then our human race is going to evolve much better forward as well.
Totally. Stacy, what's your take on that?
I had one take and then someone said something, then I had another take and someone else said something else. And now I'm going to give you my take because I realize this as a performer, okay, as an actor. What do I love most? And this is a professional environment, right? Acting is a job. So I love to tell stories and I love to share those stories with as many people as possible, right? Actors right now are so afraid that their work is going to be taken over by AI. And I think it's such a huge opportunity, right? As an actor to be able to tell my story to an even bigger group of people. So imagine being able to create a play in a virtual environment, even bringing in actors from different places around the world to put on a show and to share that with the world. Wow. I mean, that can profoundly change the arts itself. And I think, so many people in my sector are just they're so afraid of losing their jobs. And it's a real fear that I think they're missing out on the prospect of these amazing opportunities, right? I think that's really something that can, and I'm working on. I think in a negative way, like sometimes what people want is not necessarily what we need, right? It's like Joker 2, right? I use this analogy because Joker 2, to me, was a terrible movie. And why? Because they thought the filmmakers were giving the audience what they need. And it's not what they really wanted. And I think we need to give people what they want, but also what they need. And so I think, we have the opportunity here, but we are also dealing with an epidemic of loneliness. And I don't want these technologies to exacerbate this issue, which to me could really negatively impact the world. So I think there's amazing opportunities, but we really have to temper our enthusiasm and this radical optimism, which I normally have, with the reality that we have some very serious issues in our world that I'm not sure can be fixed by virtual existence. So
in the end, every technology, there is no good or bad technology as such. It's the way how we use it that makes it good or bad. Just a stupid example maybe, but if you look at the nuclear bomb, initially it wasn't planned to be this kind of destructive weapon. The inventor didn't invent it for that purpose, but it ended up. It's the same with like a knife. You can use it to stab someone, but you can also use it to cut your food. So it's not about the technology itself, but what you do with it. And in the end, that's up to each human being to make something out of it. So, but I do agree that many people are afraid, especially not just in cultural sector, but also the be it white collar or blue collars workforce. But that's often because people are they are a bit resentful against change. First of all, they need to understand it, be aware of it before they can adapt it. And once that part is done, then you can move to adoption and eventually embrace change. But that takes time. And I think indeed, like many of you already said, education is the basis for all of that. But besides that, there are, of course, other potential risks and opportunities in the advancements of virtual existence. And I would like to ask each of you to give your take on that. Maybe let's start with Terry, and then move up the others. You're on mute.
Yeah,
Yes.
sorry, I was on mute.
Don't worry.
No, sorry, I was on mute. I think what you said about the tools is really important.
Mhm.
I'm really glad you're asking me, because yes, a tool can be used in so many very different ways. But what's interesting, for instance, we take the examples of the knife, you take the atom bomb. What's really interesting here is that those tools are becoming really powerful, and they can be used for good. You see, good contributions. We have like all those case studies. For instance, you have healthcare, and in medicine, you have surgeons being able to do remote surgery from the end of the planet, which is fantastic. We use this in Fiji, actually, not for surgeons, but for technicians. Like my partner in his company, they couldn't have people fly from Europe to fix devices, and there are those people remote assist and remote operate, and so fantastic. At the same time, what you see is that, and not even with headsets, just with computers, like with 3D worlds, like you have those massively multiplayer games. And in China, you already have laws against people getting addicted to those worlds and spending too much time in those worlds. And it's going to get only worse when you're going to transition this from a flat screen to a headset, where it's even more immersive and even more opportunities. So I think it's definitely a challenge, and it's not just the people. I think it's the people. I think it's the companies building the products and the applications. I was giving this example of hyper reality, and it's up to the companies to decide, what's the limit, what's the line in the sand, and we're not going to go further than this. It's also up to the governments to regulate. And what's certainly challenging, and everybody said that, Nadia said it 5 times, is that for us in our bubble, we see all those things, and the whole world has to catch up to a technology that's evolving so fast that how we use those tools is going to be a consensus by the whole society, the people, the habits they create, the companies, the products they release, and the things they try, the governments. Lucy, for instance, like there's been a lot of legislation on AI. Stacey, you were talking about actors in California, I believe, like I saw last week or 2 weeks ago, that Gavin Newsom just passed this legislation, and now it's illegal to use AI to reproduce actors in California. It's all going so quick, and so that is a conversation that's happening. I think maybe our role, and that's what we're doing here, is to put this conversation in the forefront so that more and more people are aware that it's happening, and that more and more people participate in it, because I think it's a conversation for everyone.
Totally. Thank you for that. Stacey.
Well, risks. The loudest voices win over the other people who are doing the work behind the scenes. I mean, I read so much crap, and I'm tired of it. And people then just take that as the gospel. And I think we have to be really careful about listening to voices just because they're out there and they seem to be the experts on the topic. It's the Wild West. So the risks are that we are not getting the whole story because we're not getting a diverse set of voices in this conversation. The opportunities to me are around community and belonging. Again, in a world where we're so disconnected from each other, there's still that opportunity for all to be better understanding of other cultures, other people, other experiences. And this goes back to education. Imagine if you can have a classroom in Kenya and a classroom in Uganda and a classroom in the US all together, sitting around a table together, sharing their life experiences. What an incredible world this could be.
Totally. Thank you. Nadja.
Yeah, I think for me, it comes down to the opportunities are we can create new social structures. And that's the most powerful thing. I'm so incredibly grateful that I'm part of this, that I'm alive at this time. The risks, however, is that we might not care to create new social structures. And I think, critical thinking is not a trend anymore. So we don't use the word in, headlines and media, and we don't make YouTube videos about it. So it's not cool anymore, I guess. But in an age where we have no freaking idea what's going on, I mean, literally, we have no idea what's going on. That's really scary if you stop and think about it, which is why no one stops to think about it. So critical thinking is such an important skill that it goes beyond, because I mean, we've handed over our thinking to tech. And so I think what needs to happen now, and what the risk is if it doesn't happen, is we need to reclaim from technology the ability to do critical thinking. We've handed it over and we need to reclaim it.
Totally. Let's make it cool again.
Exactly.
It is quintessential. I totally agree. I mean, without critical thinking, how can you even know if something is real or not? And if you don't even question anything anymore, then yeah, whoever pops up can tell you whatever they like, and you will take it for the truth. So totally, I think that's quintessential indeed. Ruslan.
That's very interesting question because of right now life give us a lot of technology which we could not even comprehend. We will see in this time. Right now, images are generated, voices are generated, texts are generated. So in few years, almost like 80% of content will be fully generated and artificial in front of us. And I fully agree with Nadia that without this critical thought, without this modern touch to technology and understanding of it, it will be absolutely our world. Our world is changing, and the acceleration with which it changes, it's dramatic. We talk about like different professions, we do talk about different social structures, but we see how we augmented and how we've been augmented in those 2 years. It's not so dramatic at once. Like 15% were 20% there, less and less people are involved in the processes. A lot of workers are just chat GTP, which is communicating with you. I have never in my life previously have communicated with so many virtual assistants, which we right now having. And oh my gosh, a lot of images, ideas, everything is out so such blended that you really can see the real thing right now. And in few years, I'm totally sure that you will can't just with your perception to understand, is it real or is it fake? So this is really dramatic time for us, and to establish right rules for this technology, because right now this technology is more powerful which we think, and it may find very, very dramatic influence on even the youngest, on children, which will not understand where is reality and where is just a dream inside of them and out of words. So, but the future of technology is really amazing too. With those of downfalls and artificial stuff, the, let's say, like amount of experience which we can feel, amount of art which we can see, amount of places, virtual places we can visit, and let's say like amount of education which we can receive inside of this just headsets around them, it will give vast opportunities for people to have, let's say, like not like one or two professions, at least 5 professions and their time and their generation. They could change their life dramatically during a lot of periods, not like just to adhere into one way, one path, and that's all. So that's amazing thing which we are going to experience, and yeah, this is really coming very soon and very accelerated. Thank you.
Totally. Thank you for that, Chloe.
Yeah, sure. I just want to add on to the point that Rosalind was talking about, that because of virtual assistants, nowadays it gets so hard to differentiate what is real and what is fake. And I already see that, like, because for myself, I have like about 200,000 followers on TikTok. And because of that, I see so many people impersonating me nowadays. And sometimes I can see that the scammers, like, they literally like produce videos that I can't even recognize. Like, is it true? Is it real? And so many followers cannot recognize that as well. And sometimes I'm very amazed by how they use technology to their advantage, because it's very scary that with this, it's getting harder and harder to protect our own personal identity, our data protection, and all this. And I think, like, we just have to be very careful coming to this world. We need to make sure that, firstly, we don't want to scam people. We want to make sure we always come from the pure heart of helping people, right? But then there's something that we cannot control. So should you encounter anything that you think it's a little bit fishy, just be very careful about it and stay away from the potential scams. So that is the risk that we are facing, right? Which is inevitable. But at the same time, I can see there's also a lot of opportunity with this generative AI and all this, being a content creator, or being, using your own business for personal branding. Now it's so powerful. Like, you can literally create content in a very, very easy way, and it can help you to promote your brand in a much more effortless manner. So there's always a lot of both sides of the coin. It just depends on how you use it as well.
Exactly. I think that's a great summary of what we've discussed, and I think it's like you said, immersive literacy is key, as is education, especially now with the different generations. There have never been more different generations on the work floor as today, but that doesn't mean that they are not complementary. We should use them in a way that it complements each other. So one of the to close it off is a small video that I recommend you to have a look at. It's in fact very short. Keanu Reeves, who is explaining to teenagers what the Matrix is about at a friend's home dinner, and so he explains about what's real, what's not real. And one of the teenagers, like 12 or 13 years old, is asking, like, why do you care if it's real or not? And I think that is something that we really have to question ourselves, because it's not because it's important to us and our generation that it is for the next, which also implicates other elements in the evolution. So let's just continue to meet people where they are. And I would love to thank you for a great panel. You've been amazing as always, and it was great to have you. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the Virtual World Symposium with all of you, and hope to see you soon again. So thank you very much.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you.
Thank you.